hopper. It's a pretty simple little pattern. So I'm going to begin by tying with it on a 2 extra long dry fly hook. That's a Tiemco 5212. It's just 2 extra long. It's the lighter dry fly wire, or a Daiichi 1280. Either of those hooks would be a good hook for this. So I'm going to start here by starting my thread. I'm using a 140, UTC 140. It's a hopper yellow thread, so I'm going to wind back here to my tie-in point. Okay, right about there. Then I'm just going to take some of this fine natural dubbing. It's Nature Spirit fine natural dubbing, and I'm going to use some of it. Another one you could do, which also makes a nice hopper, is the fine natural dubbing rainbow blend. This is hopper yellow, and you can see it's got a little bit of flash material in it, so you can add a little flash to the fly if you want to. So I'm going to start here. I'm just going to do a direct dubbing method on my hook, and I do want a fairly robust body, so I'm using a fair amount of dubbing here, more than I would normally use for like a dry fly, but we'll get that going. Okay, so what you do is you capture the ends of the dubbing, then you can twist it up fairly tight, and then just kind of, let me spread it out here a little bit. Maybe I got a little too much dubbing. Let's pull a little bit of that off the thread. We'll add some more as we go. Okay, there we go. That's maybe a little better. You can see I keep tightening it as I go, and I want to build up a little bit of a body here, because this is a hopper after all, even though we're tying a fairly small one. Let me add some more of that dubbing. I've never done this one. There's a lot of this I happen to see. Okay, just kind of keep it going here. I think I'm getting just starting to get right about where I want to be. Now I want to leave this front quarter of the fly open for my deer hair head. So you can see I have a little tapered body there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, just use a little turkey quill. This turkey quill has been treated with some fixative, so it will stay together when I cut it off here. Oh, let's try another piece there, a little bigger. There we go. So what I'm going to do with this piece is I'm going to start by squaring this up on the end. Okay, then I'm going to place it here and wrap it around the hook shank just like that, then hold on to it and come in and get a couple loose wraps. Oops, keeps wanting to slip off. Let's get up there. Let me back my thread up a little bit. All right, there we go. Now let's see if I can, there we are. Now I grabbed it. And just make sure it's kind of wrapped around the thread. Then I'm just gonna come in here and kind of make sure it's tied down. Now all I've got to do here is fold it in half. You want to kind of try to get it as folded in half as possible. Now bring your scissors in at an angle like that. Come up in here, snip it, and then it gives you a little pointed wing. Okay, and that's probably, that may be a little long. Let me just kind of shorten that up just a little bit. There we go. That's probably a little better length. Okay, now I'm going to use some Nature Spirit hopper hair, just natural colored deer hair for this. And get my comb here, and get my stacker. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to cut a bunch of hair. First thing I want to do is I want to comb out the under fur. And then I'm going to put it in my stacker and stack it. And then I'm just going to kind of measure it back about like that. So I want it to come back maybe about to there, about 2/3 of the body length or so. So I'll come and I'll trim the butts. So now what I'm going to do, okay, now don't make this harder than it needs to be. Just push the hair down around the hook shank. Come in and get 3 wraps on it. Now, remember you're dealing with 140 thread here. This is not UTC thread. It's 140, so kind of be gentle with your pulls. Don't get too carried away. Then I just come forward just a little bit through it. Now I'll come in here and wrap forward. Now I'm going to get another bunch of hair. And get my comb here. Comb out the under fur. Clip it top and bottom. Now I'm gonna, you can just do the same thing. You kind of push it around the hook shank and just grab it. But I'm going to show you another little technique here. Okay, so I'm going to go 3 wraps, and just as it's starting to flare, I'm going to start letting go of it and let it spin around the hook shank. And it should go right there, kind of locked up. That's what you want. Now the trick to that move is as you come around with your thread, you have to keep the tension on the thread the same. Okay, you don't want to pull down harder and up harder, but if the thread tension is the same as you go around, the hair will distribute itself evenly around the hook shank. Now I can just come forward here, just do a little pack with my hands. I don't need to get too carried away. Get a little bit of the eye of the hook here. Come in, build up a little head on the fly. And then I'll come in with my whip finisher. And it's a little tricky. I got to pull the hair back and at the same time get my whip finisher in there. Okay, yeah, it's slipping off. Hold on. There we go. Get a couple wraps there. That's probably good. Wrap that down, take my fingernails and just push that thread right back behind the eye of the hook. Okay. Now, I'm just going to come in here in the bottom, turn it pretty flush, and come around the sides. I'm just doing a quick scissor trim on this. I'm not getting carried away. I'm not going to bother using a razor or anything like that. And all I'm doing right now, let me put it up here in my base. You can see the butts right there. I'm just kind of trimming out those butts. There we go. Now, if you want the head to flow back into the collar, which is a good look. It's a good look. I don't think it matters to the fish. I think it's just what do you want it to look like. Let me come around here and get these a little bit more. Get those butts out of there. There we go. So if you want the fly, if you want that collar, that head to just flow back into the collar, you can do that. But if you want something that's a little more articulated, take your wing and pull it down and just come up here and just trim the butts like that. let me get it cleaned out underneath here. There we go. And so now you got a little bit more of an articulated head. You know, you've got, you know, the underside of the fly. You can see the yellow body real well. And it doesn't have legs on it. Doesn't have legs on it, but it's a nice little fly. It's just 3 materials, and it's old school, but it still catches fish. It rides a little lower than some of the foam patterns today, and it's a nice little fly. So here you go, the Letort Hopper.